Hey everyone, welcome. My name is Marilyn Shannon, and this is the Breaking Free Show. And I am breaking free as you see me because my guest is running late, had some personal issues. So we're hoping all is well and that he will pop in as soon as he can. But in the meantime, the show must go on. And so we're going to have a great show nonetheless because we're here together and that's all you can ask for, right? Things happen and you just got to roll with it. But if you were here, about 20 minutes ago, I mean, I think I could bring tears to your eyes, both in joy, sorrow for me, and all else, whatever. Things happen. So what can you do, right? So we're going to get on with the show. So let me just tell you, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, and I am blessed to be here. You are blessed to be wherever you are, and life is good. And hopefully, our guest will come on as soon as he can, and we'll go from there. So before we get on, I just want to say hi to Amnon.
Hello,
How
Marilyn.
are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good.
I'm doing great. But I think my guest just messaged me. So
Okay.
I'm going to see what he is oh, he wants it's a his Skype now is not working. So I'm going to give him our phone number
Yeah.
because he's got a great story and I want him to be able to tell it. And he can tell it much better than I can. So I'm going to give it to him. All right, here we go. All right. Anyway, how are you doing?
Doing just fine.
Yeah, what's happening in your world?
Oh, nothing. I mean, like you said, finally they do wake up in the morning and the sun is there. Wow.
It's so
That was
bright.
something.
I'm telling you, it's been so cloudy that now it's so bright. I'm
Yeah.
like
And it's
this. Oh,
rain
please, there's so
and
much sun
rain
and
and
rain
rain
and
and
rain
rain.
and a lot of
I don't
rain.
want to hear
I know.
anything about drought this year.
No, we've had a lot of rain.
Because if they talk about drought, it's again fake news.
It is. It's bad. It's bad. So anyway, listen. Anytime during the show, you are more than welcome to call in, say hi, whatever you like. You can call in at 919-518-9773 or come in on Skype. That's computers. That's plural, 2K voice, and you'll come in on Skype voice. And you can also join us in our chat and ask questions and comment and enjoy the show from there. Right next to the video, just put your name, nickname, whatever it is, and we would love to have you there as well. So we're going to talk a lot about different things today. So and whatever's on your mind. So please feel free to call in. So anyway, what's going on in the tech world? Anything we need to know about? Anything we need to do know about? Anything interesting happening? Because Amnon does a great computer show,
No,
and
there's
he's up with
nothing
the news.
nothing immediate that people can do anything about. If you have an Android
Right,
phone,
right.
watch out. There are a lot of apps out there that are actually Trojans. So be
Oh,
careful. I mean, it's easier said than done. People want to go and get one that was talked about is supposed to be a battery optimizer.
oh.
And it will
What does
actually
it do?
steal everything from
Oh.
your PayPal and everything. So you need to be
How do you
careful.
know about that stuff before?
You don't.
Well, what do you do?
Yeah, well, you hear, okay, battery optimizer, stay away from them. Unless somebody says, "Oh yeah, I came across this one and it's bad," you don't know.
So even with any app, I mean, new apps in particular, any app that, I mean,
Yeah, and
if Apple sends out,
and now Apple is a little bit different. I mean, if you go to this, I should have
preface it by saying,
from third party app stores,
right? Okay.
not from the Apple store, which had some bad apps,
Okay.
or from the Play Store, which is Google's, which had bad stuff, but it's more likely that you are not going to get
So
them
it's
from these
minimum.
two. It's what do you mean it's a minimum?
So it's minimized going to Apple
Oh yes.
or the
Oh
Play
yeah, it's
Store as
minimized.
opposed
Yeah,
to
yeah.
you just randomly find an app that you like.
Correct.
Okay. And if you see an app on Apple or the Play Store,
Then
you're pretty
chances
secure.
are
It's okay.
it's okay.
Okay.
But you need to and before, I mean, and if they were talking about it stealing all your
Well, that would be
PayPal stuff.
awful.
Now, yeah, if you do a lot of everything on your phone and you're using PayPal on the phone, yeah, your information is there and they can
That's pretty
empty
awful.
your. I know it is,
It's
but
awful.
that's
Yeah,
the
that
age we
it's
live in.
you just got to be careful.
Yep.
I mean, it just got to be careful. And somebody is not careful, and that's how the rest of us figure
Right.
out that something's wrong.
Right.
Because there's going to be somebody that tries something that's going to get hurt. But I don't usually download any apps, even in the Apple store, that doesn't have like lots of people using it. Like an app that has 4 or 5 people rating it, I don't usually download. I usually
Well,
do
I
it
mean,
when it's like hundreds or
you
thousands.
should start with download only what you really need.
Oh, yeah,
It's
well,
a
I don't go
tool.
yeah, yeah,
It's a
yeah.
tool. The
Yeah, yeah,
phone
yeah,
is a
yeah, yeah,
tool.
yeah, I don't do it any other way.
Yeah. So
If I don't
that
need it, I don't take it.
right. And
Yeah,
then yeah, that's a good way to do it,
right.
but I would still caution you because there were some apps that were there for some time and a lot of people used them and the developer decided to give up on it. Somebody else
Uh,
took it
oh,
and turned it into a Trojan and kept it there because it's already there. It passed all the tests, supposedly. Who are you and all that? I mean, I would blame the original developer for not letting the app stores know, hey, look, I'm not going to do it anymore. It's not updated. Take it off. And
oh,
somebody, that's what a Trojan.
oh. I never would
So
I never would think of that.
you have to be on guard
How
no
do you
matter
think
what.
about all this
I
stuff, though? I
know.
mean, how do you even I would never even think about it.
That's why you listen to tech
Mm.
shows that will let you know, inform you about things that are happening.
And that's your show.
Mine, or there are
So
thousands of them out
your
there.
show is on,
Sunday morning at 9 to 11.
okay, so 9 to 11. And you talk about what? Tell everybody
We
what you
talk
talk about.
about anything and everything tech. We try to break it apart. I mean, there are 5 of us, 4 of us, or 5 of us, and we talk about it and we discuss it, different opinions and all that. But you learn from it. I mean, the bottom line is, if it comes out, if there's smoke, there's fire. So you need to be careful. I mean, just be careful. It's great for my show because there's a lot of
You have a
stuff to
lot of
talk
things to
about,
talk
but
about.
but it's bad for the consumers. And I'm not saying stay away from your phone or don't do any of that stuff. You don't go the other way around because that's not good either. But just be aware and keep whatever you can. If you have a lot of money, you keep it in the bank. You don't keep it in a
Right.
box on the driveway, so to speak. It's you just need to
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 think about
plan
it.
for these things.
And you need to and like you said, watch the shows, ask people you
Yeah,
know,
and
look at the ratings when you're downloading something,
get informed.
and search it. Like I have a problem now with an app, a voice recorder, that there's a problem with it. When I go to transfer a recording to Google Drive, it doesn't take the voice. It takes only like the text of some sort. And it's not it's and I can't seem to find anybody to help me with it.
I
So I
don't I
don't
don't
know.
use Google Drive, but Google Drive should be
It
just
should
like
be fine. It's coming from the app because I send other things to Google
I
Drive.
have no idea.
So I don't know how to fix it. But anyway, and our guest is working on calling our studio number and
Well,
he's not getting it for some reason.
no,
919. Has anything changed?
it's
518
just right there,
9773.
right above
Yeah. I
your
mean, he's
camera.
trying. Okay. Well, anyway, so he's trying. Hopefully he will make it. And in the meantime, this is a funky time in a lot of people's lives, both good, stressful, you name it, it is it. Setting up goals for the future. It's kind of like your worlds are coming together at one time, and it's busy. And it's a time to have fun too. It's a time to sit back and kind of put things into whatever perspective you can put them into, and it's hard. I mean, it's money is going out faster than it could be coming in right now for a lot of people. There's disappointment. Sometimes, new jobs are happening. Maybe you thought you were going to get that promotion or that bonus, and you didn't get it. So it's a hard time, but it's also a beautiful time. I don't want to spend time just talking about, the hardships and things that can go on, but it is, a time for being with family and for welcoming people into your circle, into your family events and experiences and parties that might normally not have a place to go. Or maybe you wouldn't think of having them come, but it's a time to welcome as many people as you can and just make it bigger and juicier. It's a time to plan ahead and to say, "What can I do that's different that I haven't done before? What's the next step that I can do that I haven't done before? Where do I want my life to go?" And I think sometimes people fall into a trap. They go ahead and they say, "Okay, where do I want my life to go?" And they make it so big that it's, like, overwhelming. Don't make it so big. Make it little. A little step, what I don't even call them a baby step, I call them freedom steps. Make it one step forward into whatever direction, and you give it a whirl, and that's where tweaking comes in. Tweak it. We don't know what we don't know. We only know what we know, and if you haven't experienced something, how are you supposed to know it's gonna work or not work? Or a piece of it's gonna work and a piece of it won't work until you give it a whirl. So, you give it a whirl and you see, and if it doesn't work, then maybe you tweak it a little bit. If it works, well, great, then you take it to the next level and have fun. And one big thing is to know and understand and love forgiveness for yourself and others. And if something didn't work, don't give up. Just keep going at it. Go keep and at some point you look at it and go, "Okay, maybe it's not working because I'm supposed to be doing this." Or maybe a piece of it's working and not all of it and you have to reassess it. Well, you can do that. So don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on other people either. It's interesting to me because I'm doing, my next book on millennials, and there's so much judgment about millennials from my generation, from older, from a little younger, even from the millennials. About millennials, there's judgment, and I really believe that there's a lot of judgment about the kind of the smokescreen. What we think they are, we've made into an avatar. We made it into something that it isn't so. Because I'll tell you the truth, every millennial that I have encountered and that I am interviewing or have interviewed does not fit the stereotype of the millennial that I have heard about, the ones that are living in the basement, those that just don't care about anybody. I think they care so much and they feel so much that they've had to kind of make it look like they don't in order to not feel so much pain. A lot of them have gone to schools, to college, and they get out and there isn't the right job for them. And no, they don't want to just take anything. They don't want to just be anybody. Okay, let's see. Okay, I'm interrupting myself. Hold on. Um, he for some reason cannot call us. The phone he says is not working. Okay. And am I giving him the right number? I wanna make check myself. 919-518-9773, and that's the right one. And what happens if we call him? Can we do that? Okay, let me get his number. Okay, and then we're working this out. Hold on, everybody. You are seeing reality TV at its best. Okay. 'Cause again, life happens. Oh my God. How many experiences do you have in life where you wake up and you have this great plan and it doesn't work? No, I had his number. I have his number. What am I asking him for? I have it. Hold on a minute. Okay, let me write it down for you. Okay. I'm going to give it to you. Okay. Hold on. Hold on, everybody. Bear with me. I'm coming. Here. I can't, I'm thinking good, but I ain't thinking great because I had his number and I just asked him for it. Okay. Hold on. All right. You know what? His story is going to be great.
Subscriber you have dialed is not in service.
Oh,
If you feel you've received this message in error, please hang up
I
and
just
try your
called
call
him.
again later.
Isn't that
Message
weird? Okay.
TX1.
Bear with us. This is really interesting. This is so interesting. Is that us or him? Okay, this is so because I called him before. Okay, this is really interesting. Just bear with us. Be patient because this is the way life is. So anyway, and I would love to hear from any of you. So you are more than welcome to join our chat. You can call in, you can talk to me about anything that's on your mind. I would love to hear. This is like, kind of open like a fireside chat,
Subscriber you have dialed
So
is not in service.
go ahead and connect with us, okay? All right. So, millennials. So on yesterday, my husband and I went to work out, and there's a new cafe that opened up in Morrisville, not far from where we live in North Carolina, and it's all gluten free. And I hear gluten free, and I'm gluten free, and I wanted to go, so we went, and it's pretty. Oh, it's so pretty. I can't pronounce what it is, but it's spelled Fount coffee. Fount, I guess. I don't know.
Subscriber you have dialed
It
is
is
not in service.
beautiful inside, clean and striking. So we go up to the counter and I'm looking at the menu and I said to the gentleman who was at the cash register, it's all gluten free, right? And he said, oh, yeah, I have celiac. I said, okay. So I look at the menu and I give him my order. My husband gives him, his order. And I said to him, are you the owner? And he said, yes. And he was like in his young 20s. And I said, really? He said, yes, my wife and another couple. I said, are you all millennials? He said, yes. And I said, you see, oh my God. And I looked at him and I asked him if I could interview him and the other three, his wife and the other couple, for my book, because I feel it's so cool to see what millennials are doing that's outside the stereotype. So the one of the first things I did was I looked around and I started looking at how it was designed. I mean, I know they didn't design it themselves. I'm sure they had a designer, but it was so cool that I mean, I just couldn't believe it. So one of the first things I was looking at was where are the plugs? Because I figure any business that opens up that is a millennial business is going to have lots of plugs, right? Because they're going to be working there and they have computers. And let me give this message from Ray, and hopefully he can figure it out. Anyway, there were plugs like everywhere you could turn, there was a plug. So that was one thing. And I was looking around to kind of get a feel for what else a millennial would put into their business. But I was so impressed with how this place looked, the lighting, the whole makeup of it. So I'm gonna interview them for my book, and here's another bit of you can't plan, like, everything. So I had this book looking a certain way. I had it looking like, here, I'm gonna interview individual millennials, whatever, you know, and get into their life and hear about their childhood and hear about, what makes them tick, what they care about. And, of course, everyone I've interviewed, which has been about 10 of them so far, have been, like, thoughtful and caring about their families and just wanting to make a difference in the world, and no, like I said earlier, no, they don't wanna just do anything. They wanna do something that has value, and they don't wanna just buy into a system, whatever the system is, whatever the job is that's not working. But I did not realize that one of the areas that I should be looking for this book would be millennials that are in their own business. Now that to me was something I hadn't considered. So lo and behold, there they are. And how fascinating is that? I can't wait to hear their story. And then tomorrow, I'm getting to go to another millennial business that is, also a healthy, conscious kind of, cafe that is also like a juicing kind of. And I'm interested to hear what they have to say because we have to learn from each other. We all have to learn from each other. Millennials have so much to teach me, and I'll tell you what, I got a few things to teach them too. So together we want to learn. And one of the themes that I have been listening to in the interviews that I've already done are that millennials want mentors. They want people to teach them. They want to know like what you know, and they want us to take them under their wings. That's number 1. And they're conscious of things, and they don't want to be judged, but they do need some help. So I think it's really cool. So that book will be called In Just One Afternoon, Listening into the Hearts of Millennials. So I'm really excited about that one, and hopefully it will be complete, I'm guessing by February. But simultaneously, I'm working on another one, which is also takes on a different slant. And the next one is going to be In Just One Afternoon, because that's my title of my series. In Just One Afternoon, listening to the heart of a drug addiction and family members and loved ones. So I am in the process of interviewing uh, individuals that are surviving, are in rehab, are having a difficult time, but are willing to share their experience as a drug addict. And at the same time, I'm also interviewing family members. So I've had incredible conversations, incredible conversations with individuals who are in recovery and also family. And I'll tell you, you know what the one major theme is? It appears to be with several of the individuals that are in recovery is connection, is feeling like they connected, feeling like there are people in their world and that they're connected. And that seems to be a big theme, is feeling like you matter, feeling like you are surrounded with people, or you are just plain connected. And it is a very important for many of us, not just for individuals that are having issues with drug addiction, but being connected. Now, there are certainly people that I've been interviewing, and I hadn't given this a whole lot of thought until I started doing this book, are individuals that are have chronic pain and get addicted to opioids, drugs, because of being in chronic pain. I hadn't thought about that. It's so interesting when you sit and you talk with people. There's so many things, nuances, little things that you just don't know until you actually sit down with somebody and you have a safe space for somebody to communicate, and you realize, "Oh my goodness gracious. I had no idea that that would be a hindrance. I have no idea that that would be an issue for someone. I never gave it any thought." It's like, do you ever think about how certain things get made? Like, here's a box of tissues. Have you ever thought of that, how this just box of tissues gets constructed? Like, who's doing it? Who's putting the tissues in there? How it all gets done? It's like, how do you I mean, you gotta think about these things because somebody is doing it, right? So I want to think more and more and be more and more conscious of this. Ray,
Hello?
is that you?
This is me.
Oh boy. Hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. So you're here now. Okay, we're good then, right?
I guess we are. I can't see anything. I'm on my phone.
Right. So, right. You won't see anything, but you can be heard.
Okay.
Okay. So, we only have, not only, but we have a half hour left for you to be able
Okay.
to share your story. So that's what I'm
All
gonna,
right.
okay? All right. So I want everybody to meet Ray. He was supposed to be here, but couldn't make it. Things happen. So here he is now. Better late than never, right?
I know.
Okay. So,
I apologize.
well, listen, things happen. Okay. So tell everybody who you are and begin your story, because it's an incredible, like when you were telling me your story, I was at the end of my seat, like, I know he's alive because he's telling me, but he's had this like near death kind of experience,
Yes.
and yet he's here talking about it. So why don't you
Yes.
start by telling everybody who you are and about your story?
Well, my name is Ray Thompson, and I was living in Pennsylvania. I was living in an area called York, Pennsylvania. I had not been feeling the best and dealing with some health challenges. And earlier in the month of January of 2017, I went to a gastroenterologist. It was determined that there was something going on with my liver, but they really didn't know what the case was. And so they ran tests. I was retaining fluid in my abdomen. And so they drained the fluid out of my abdomen. So on January the 3rd, they drained about 1 liter. Believe it or not, the next week they drained 4 liters. The third week in January, they drained another 4 liters. So the fluid kept coming back. And we arrived at January the 27th. And as a result, my wife was unable to wake me that morning because we were scheduled to go to the doctors. And she came in the room 3 times to wake me up. But the third time, she just decided to get me out of the bed and send me off to the bathroom to get ready. I went into the bathroom, came out of the bathroom, and she in return dressed me from head to toe. And she directed me to go to the car. I got in the car, and we went off to the doctors. And so we went off to the doctors. We got to the doctors. The doctor came in, and he began to talk, but everything that he said did not make any sense to me. It was as if he was speaking another language. And so my wife answered all of his calls, all of his questions. And from there, we left the doctor's office and we went to the hospital to have the fluid drained again, along with some more lab work done. And the nurse that was with us at the time said to my wife, she said, if he was my husband, I would take him to the ER immediately because something is wrong. And so my wife said, well, I'm going to take him to the ER. She said, well, let's just take him now. So they took me to the ER, and they took me in the back. And that was really where the last thing that I really remember is being in the back. And they had restrained me to the bed because I guess I was trying to get up to leave. And so they restrained me to the bed and did a few procedures on me, and then decided to admit me into the hospital. And so they admitted me into the hospital because my toxin levels in my body were elevated to such a high extreme where it was clouding my mind. So that night, my children drove from North Carolina all the way to Pennsylvania to see me because I was now in the hospital. And when they arrived, they came in the room and my wife said, say hello to the children. And I said to my wife, I said, okay. hello. And my wife realized that something was wrong with that response. So she said, no, say hello to your children. And so I said hello to the children. And she knew at that point that I really didn't know who they were because I did. To me, they were strangers. And so they sat on my bed, and I was trying to really figure out why these strangers were sitting on my bed. But things were just not right. And so the next day, that my memory of my children came back, but I was still in the hospital. And so I remained at the hospital. I was admitted Friday evening. Saturday went by. Sunday went by. Monday came, and I was able to get out of bed and walk around the hospital. And I really thought I was going to be discharged because I was doing much better. But things kind of took a turn for the worse on Tuesday, where my toxin levels went back up again. The hospital decided that my case was just really too much for them to handle. And so they transferred me to Hershey Medical in Hershey, Pennsylvania. And so that was a Wednesday night.
Ray.
Uh-huh.
I thought maybe maybe get us to how they decided to transfer you to North Carolina because of how it was, and then what happened when you got to North Carolina, because that's a really important part of your story.
And so I, after being at Hershey Medical, my blood pressure crashed and dropped to like 50/30, and which was my first experience that I should have died, but I did not. And a couple of days later, I was transferred to Duke University in Durham, North Carolina. I arrived at Duke on February the 5th, which happened to be Super Bowl Sunday of 2017. And the medical staff continued to work with me, and they ran me through a series of tests that entire week. I got finished with all the testing.
Okay, hold on. When you say wait, you said they decided to work with you. Why wouldn't they have worked with you?
Well, they Duke accepted me as a patient.
Why wouldn't they have?
So there's an option that a hospital has on whether or not to accept you as a patient, yes or no. And Duke decided to accept me and my case as a patient to their hospital. It's not a guarantee that a hospital has to accept you.
So even though they transferred you there, you didn't already have like a pre-acceptance.
Well, when they accepted me, that's when they transferred me to the hospital.
Okay.
So I got to Duke. They did testing for about 5 or 6 days. They ran me through a series of tests. And Saturday, they qualified me for the transplant list, which I believe was February 11th. Unbeknownst to me, I was, in fact, the sickest person at Duke University at that time. And I was also the sickest person in Duke's region, which spans about 5 states. So that put my name at number 1 on the transplant list. And at that time, there were well over 10,000 people on the transplant list, and I was number 1. And that Sunday, I got a liver, which was less than 24 hours later. However, that afternoon, they came to my wife and they told my wife that I had an infection in my body. So they had to take me off the transplant list. So they took me off the transplant list. And they took me off the transplant list. And what happened was they had to treat the infection. And so Sunday night, my kidneys failed. And when my kidneys failed, they sent me off to ICU. I was still not on the transplant list at this point because they were treating the infection. But when they sent me off to ICU, they gave me a 1% chance to live. Because they have what they call a MELD score, and that measures your liver. And it ranges from 6 to 40. And that Sunday, my MELD score had risen all the way to 52, which was far beyond 40. When your MELD score reaches 40, you're either too sick for surgery or you're dead. It's either or. And so my MELD score was 52. So they simply did not know what to do with me other than to make me comfortable. So Tuesday night, after treating the infection, they put my name back on the transplant list. And Wednesday morning, when my wife arrived at the hospital, they told my wife, they said, "You're never going to believe this, but we have another liver available." And so what happened was they prepped me for surgery on that Thursday, which was the 16th of February. They prepped me for surgery. It took me into surgery. They took me into surgery about 4:30, and it was a 7+ hour surgery. And close to midnight, I came out of surgery, and I did not wake up until Saturday. So I was still asleep from Thursday night during the surgery all the way until Saturday when I woke up. I began to talk, communicate with those around me, and it was probably just amazing because the medical staff could not even believe that I was still living and had actually gone through a surgery and lasted through a surgery.
So, Ray, let me ask you something. And by all means, everyone, please feel free to call in 919-518-9773 if you have a question for Ray, or you can come in on our chat. This is the time. Please join us there. You can come in on Skype and computers, 2K voice. So when they first took your pressure, that was like the pressure of a dead man. Is that what you're saying? You shouldn't have been alive.
That was when I was in Pennsylvania,
Yeah,
yes,
right.
when my blood pressure crashed.
And then with the score and all that going on, I mean, it's amazing that they would even have done the surgery. Why do you think they did? Why do you think that all happened? Did you have any?
Believe it or not.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I recently met a liver patient who had a transplant 5 years ago. And I was telling him how sick I was. And he simply told me, he said, if you would have had your surgery where I had mine, he said, because your MELD score was beyond 40, he said they would have never done your surgery. They would have allowed you to just die because you were too sick for surgery. However, I had a physician, a surgeon, who was so determined because he kept reviewing my records, and he said, this man has defied every single thing that he has gone through. So the chances of him surviving a surgery, pretty high.
So it was
because he's defied everything.
So it's more than just, I mean, when you take a look at someone, it's more than just, maybe a specific criteria. You really have to look beneath the surface and see what else is happening. Like the surgeon, I mean, if he had just gone by the how the criteria that he usually would use, he wouldn't have done it. But he put 2 and 2 together, and he got, this is something beyond that.
Yes.
right? Hmm.
Yes.
Interesting.
He just really felt, now when he made the decision to do the surgery, the medical team that had accompanied him and that accompanied him into surgery, they were on the side that I was too sick for surgery. He was on the side where he said, if this man can keep breathing, I'm going to do the surgery. So he was completely outnumbered with the rest of the medical team, but he was determined to do the surgery. And looking back on it now, I'm alive, and I am so grateful that he took the chance to do the surgery, because it was a big risk. It was a big risk for a physician to do a surgery like that.
So did you have any specific dreams or anything while you were under?
Well, what happened was, when I was in surgery, I had the opportunity to see my surgery, because I counted the number of people in the room. And there were 6 people in the room, in the room where I had the surgery. It was much later that I asked someone who was very familiar with my case. I asked them how many people were in the room when I had my surgery. And she said it was about 6 or 7 people. And she said, but why are you asking me that question? I said, because I actually saw myself on the table during the surgery. And I counted 6 people in the room. And she was completely amazed. She was just completely amazed by me sharing that with her.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was my first indication that I had seen something that is not normal for anyone to see. After I came through the surgery, when I woke up Saturday afternoon, I began to talk somewhat uncontrollably. And my wife recognized, after listening to me just talk continually, she realized that I was talking to someone, but she didn't know who I was talking to. I told her after I came out of that, probably a few weeks later, that I was really having a conversation with the shadow. And I remember having the conversation with this shadow that I was communicating with. And I firmly believed that I was having a conversation with God. And I talked from Saturday afternoon, all Saturday night. Nurses came in the room throughout the night, and I was still talking. I talked all day Sunday until Sunday night, until the doctors came and told my wife that I had to go to sleep.
Now, do you remember this conversation?
I remember the conversation. However, I don't remember the details of the conversation. But I remember having the conversation.
Does your wife remember any of the details?
She remembers bits and pieces of the conversation, because everyone around me could hear, but it didn't make any sense to anyone. It didn't make any sense to anyone, so no one could really follow the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Was there anything else after that that was kind of woo-woo-ish?
So after all of that kind of took place, I woke up on Monday morning, and they asked me if I was in any pain. And I pointed to my side, and they took me back into surgery again for another couple of hours. And they drained some fluid, and they put another drainage tube in. But every day, it was this experience that I encountered from the standpoint of that I had come so close to death that it was just simply incredible. And I've recently shared with my wife that during this period when I did not communicate or talk outwardly, because the Tuesday before my surgery, I stopped talking altogether. and did not talk until that Saturday. So there were about 4 or 5 days that I didn't communicate with anyone. But I shared with my wife that I had this memory that I was stepping in and out of these two worlds. And I would step into one world and it would be a different place altogether. And it was a very peaceful place, a very surreal place. And then I would step back and I would be somewhat back in reality. More of a world that I'm used to.
What was the what was the surroundings of the world that was serene? Was there anything concrete there, or was it just a feeling you had?
It was just a beautiful, bright place. Very well lit, but yet it just gave a sense of just enormous peace. It was just enormous peace. And so I couldn't really understand where I was. It wasn't until I stepped back to where I felt like I was in a place that I was more used to. And so it was as if I was going between worlds. But during this time, I was so close to death where those around me and the medical staff really didn't believe that I was going to live at all.
So what do you think when you look back now, as the Ray going into all of this, who you were then? I mean, what were you like? Why you? Why were you chosen? Or what were your thoughts? What are your thoughts now, going back and looking at the Ray going into all of this? And, this has been how many years ago did you have the surgery?
This was 2017. This was just last year.
Okay. So now when you look back, what do you think?
Well, I think looking back on this, I realized that the reason why I experienced this was not for me. It definitely was not for me. But it was for me to share this story with the world, to give the world and those that I shared this story with a sense of hope, to know that as long as you have breath in your body, you can, in fact, move forward. You can continue to improve. And there's just more to life to look forward to.
And how do we find that hope? I mean, it sounds like, did you have hope or were you just chosen? I mean, just everyday hope? I mean, what is it?
Prior to going into this, I had been, and I still am, a minister of faith, and had been one for a number of years. So faith and religion, for me, has always been a very large part of my life. And so I really feel like God allowed me to go through this because he could, in fact, trust me that I would not take this story and turn this story on how good I was, because this really had nothing to do with me, but this had to do with a power greater than myself. And it was for me to share that with the world, to let the world know that there is a source greater than you, and in order for you to continue to move forward, do better, have more, and all of that, there's a sense of having faith in something greater than yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really feel like that's my call, to share with individuals, to let them know. And like I said, because I have been a man of faith all my life, it was just important for me to share that faith with other people.
So, I love the story, and I love hearing stories like this, and I believe that we have. It doesn't have to get to that degree necessarily, but that we all have
No, it does not.
Right. We all have experiences that we can look at and go, you know, there's more than just this. Maybe we don't always know what exactly that is, but
That's true.
right? Where you're driving and you miss an accident. Or something happens, or you get a gift of some sort, or something that we know, goodness gracious, it is beyond this. There's something bigger, better, and so, if we look, if we listen with our looking, we're going to see it and feel it and hear it. Right? What do you think, Ray?
I completely agree with you, in you saying what you just said, because, like I said, I think going through this experience, when I came home and I was in the hospital for 8 weeks, and so coming home, family members, friends continued to call me. And they kept saying to me, they said, you have no idea what you have done for us. You were in the hospital somewhat fighting for life. And we were dealing with, well, how do I pay this bill, or how do I pay that bill? We were dealing with such trivial things. And you were fighting for your life. And you allowed us to have some sense of perspective to everything that was going on, and to realize that we really had a lot to be grateful for. So we firmly believe that you need to write this down. And I kept hearing that over and over again, to write it down. So my wife and I talked about it for a couple of months. And it was after a couple of months, we decided that we were going to write it down. So we wrote a book. The book has since been published and is now on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. And the book is entitled 1%, because since I was given a 1% chance to live, I entitled the book 1%. And the book has been read by many people, and many people will send me messages and share with me that they've read the book, and they will say things to me like, you have no idea what the book has done for me. It's given me a sense of hope to hold on to, because we realize if this happened to you and you made it, then these minor things that we're kind of going through, we too are going to make it through.
Yeah, I say something very similar to that many times. I'll say, if I can do this, or I can experience this, or I can understand this, then, we all can. Because
Sure.
because I'm not, I have feel the same way. The experiences I have, the examples that I've seen, the things that have happened to me, around me, for me, are not things that are just for me. And in many cases, they're brilliant. And I could not have done it, thought of it, created it on my own.
Uh-huh.
So do you have so tell everybody about your book, where they can find it.
The book is on Amazon. It's on Amazon, it's on Barnes and Noble. My wife and I created a website, and the website is Thompson Lifeline. That's THOMPSON, Life, LIFE, line, LINE. So it's Thompson Lifeline, and you can order the book through the website, or you can go on Amazon or Barnes and Noble to buy the book as well.
Well, that's that's terrific, and I'm glad you're out sharing it because, you know, it's nice to hear these stories, right? Because the more we hear them, the more we know they're real, and that
Yes, yes, they are
they
real.
are real. And unfortunately, Ray couldn't be here, but he is a real breathing person, a regular everyday man who doesn't live far from here and is associated with people I know, and he's a real person. So these
Yes,
experiences are happening, and maybe they happen more and more and we're just not aware of it. But I do want to
and
thank
that's
you.
true.
Yeah, I do want to thank you for being here and for sharing your story. And I know there's more to it, which you all will see in his book. And I hope you have a fabulous holiday. And I'm so happy you were here. And I just want to show you have my book. And then here's my two in just one afternoon, listening to the hearts of men. And then in just one afternoon, listening to the hearts of twins. And my next one will be in just one afternoon, listening to the hearts of millennials, which I spoke about earlier, and addiction. And then I go on from there. So if you have an addiction story, you are a family member, you are a loved one, or you are someone who is surviving, struggling with survival, please give to me at Marilyn@MarilynShannon.com. And Ray, you are a
Yes,
very nice man. I'm delighted that you were here to share with us. Everyone, please reach out to Ray. And if I can be of any service to you, please let me know at Marilyn@MarilynShannon.com. And Ray, you and I will have to meet in real life, okay?
absolutely, we will.
All right. Thanks for being here. And everyone, have a wonderful day and a happy holiday. And we will see you soon. Bye.
All right.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Telestream's Wirecast software, StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.